everybody, and welcome to the Industry Show. My name is James Winborn, and today the Philadelphia Film Festival is in the building. I have David here with you. How are y'all doing? Thank y'all for being guests here today.
Very well. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for having us. It's Philly Independent,
Philly Independent. I forgot to Independent. I got you. It's cool.
You want to cut?
Independent. No, we good. So let's talk about this film festival, because I like to start from the beginning. Like, what inspired you to create this film festival, Ben?
Wow. I guess the biggest thing was we started a digital media outlet in the late 90s. So we were writing, producing, directing original web-based content, vertical films, and saw the need. Saw the need in Philadelphia to, bring the independent film community, digital film community specifically, to the table and rally storytellers around, a different medium and a different way to get their films out there.
Okay. So did you see like a lack of in Philadelphia?
We did. I mean, I think people have been arguing with this point since we're 19 years down the line, but it was clearly a lack. There was clearly a lack of a central focus. And so MediaBureau.com, which is, the web, our business, saw this before that. So we were doing the first digital films, digital streaming, everything before really anybody, almost on the East Coast. So, we thought at some stage, what else can we do? So we opened up a screening room in our place, the first HD screening room in like 98, 99. And then, we realized that film in itself, digital film was real, and it was the place to be. And so we were always there and figured this was, as good a time as any in 2008 to do our first film fest. Bit of fracturing going on in the city at that time. So, we came in and filled a need.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, David, you was there from the beginning also, too, right? So what did the early years look like in the beginning?
Actually, I'm a pretty late bloomer when it comes to the Philadelphia Independent Film Festival. I guess I could say I joined last year.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Moved back into Pennsylvania, reconnected with Ben, and then saw an opening to help with the production. And the fact that this year we're going to be based out of the Ethical Society. And we're working with the community and with Kimberly and Philip from the Ethical Society to upgrade the system, have a new live system, have a new film system and installation sound, so it really will be a good cultural hub for people and artists to present their work to the community.
Okay, great. So, Ben, since you were there from the beginning, what were some of the biggest challenges, though, in getting this festival off the ground? Because I know it starts with a vision, right?
Sure.
And then you got to put the vision into play.
Got to put the vision
what was that like?
Well, I think one of the things we were lucky for is we were running a business beforehand, an IT company that really had an open gallery and movie screening room, like I mentioned. So, we were always sort of playing the tech, film creative space and trying to marry these two. So that was the biggest thing. It was like, how do we get people interested in this more than just going into a screening room and watching a movie and
right.
another film fest? So, we really looked to create that unique voice, and that was the tech piece. And that's actually why we're part of Philly Tech Week year after year. So it was definitely something we saw was lacking out there, and figured that this was the way to do it without really overlapping with other film festivals.
Right. Okay. So your film festival, does it have individual awards that you can wear, like best actor, best director, best reader? Y'all have individual things like that also?
Yeah, for sure. There's 12 genres that we have, and we created the VR AI web series vertical film 19 years ago, really. So that's actually an award that you can get. Best director, best acting. Best cinematography. Probably more traditionally what you would think would come with it. But we also try and add, the storytelling piece and reward the writers out there a lot. And try and feature them, not necessarily just with an award, but really like bring writers into the room, have meetings with people, let people meet each other across the different genres. So, the awards are obviously, filmmakers need and want that accolade. So, we're happy to do it. But we're always looking to sort of like figure out like what's new, what's different that we can do with an award.
So I know both of y'all are a part of the selection process for films that y'all submit. I mean, that are being submitted, I should say. So when it comes to certain awards, and I always wanted to have the opportunity to ask you or anyone that creates the film festivals, certain awards like Best Director, let's break down that. What do you look for in a film that gives to say that could be Best Director? Like, what is that makes you jumped out as he could be a possible candidate as that award?
It's almost like a conductor who conducts a certain symphony the way he has the most.
I love that.
All the different it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, masterpieces are all flawed. An artwork is never really going to truly be completed. So it's someone that is voiced. There's a cohesiveness to all the different aspects of the film.
Okay.
The sound, the lighting, the editing, if it all works as a whole. It doesn't have to necessarily be perfect, but it's just someone that you feel put that work in and went that extra mile, that did things from an angle that you didn't necessarily know or understand.
Or if you see things that may be shot a little differently, you say that's the director. You know, it's funny. I'm just thinking that as I hear you speak, you talk about sports. If a team doesn't do good, they fire the coach, right? So I guess in filmmaking, when things do well, we're talking about something positive here. The director is awarded for it. But what about the acting?
Yeah, you know,
Right? Because they're the ones you see on screen.
Right. Well, you know, I think Dave's point is really hits the nail. Like we also in the independent film community aren't necessarily looking for the most polished best thing, but we're looking for, like you said, something that comes together. When you watch these independent films, it becomes pretty obvious from start to finish, you know, how that played out.
Right.
So you could see where maybe a director could have added a little more of this, or you know, or an actor added a little more of that. So you know, it's hard. It's really hard to determine like what is the best director. We often, you know, remind people that we have anywhere from like 12-13% acceptance rate. We simply just get that many films, and there's just only so many venues. So we leave a lot of incredible films that we would frankly screen on the table. So we have to look at that and say, well, would this one have won something, or what are we going to screen this, and how are we going to play this out here in this big city of Philadelphia? So, you know, directors, I think, in the independent film community are clearly the sort of ringleaders of all this.
Right,
so they
absolutely,
do a lot more, ironically, than maybe the average director in a big Hollywood film, which is clearly, you know, a huge, almost impossible job. But the independent director really, you know, has a place in this type of community of being that ringleader. Somebody puts resources down on the table, vision stuff, you know, brings the vision to light. So a lot of times people will gravitate towards that director, and it'll show in the film or not. So when we watch them, we watch films without seeing anything beforehand. So we're not reading who's in it, you know, who won this or where they screened. We just watch that film right out of the gate and then have people react. So you can tell, believe it or not, after 19 years watching thousands and thousands of films, you know, you can see the little things that are happening on there that are making this maybe a little bit more special than, you know, just the average film.
And I guess in the independent world, and me being a director myself, I do know this, that we wear a lot of different hats on set. Because we don't have the big crew, you know, capability. So sometimes I'm a producer also. I direct and produce on a lot of my films. It's like I'm wearing a lot of hats on set. But I just thought it would be interesting. So people out there that want to submit to film festivals know what y'all are looking for and things, you know, for different categories and things like that.
Right.
You know. So what makes your festival a little bit different than others out here? Everybody has their own twist of things.
Well, I'm going to let Dave, we're going to both answer this.
Okay, sure.
See what he says too. But from our festival standpoint, you know, we look for films that are made, you know, essentially without boundaries. So we're really trying to figure out not just, you know, necessarily just this is the perfect film. We want to see films that really sort of take the leap. And a lot of times in independent filmmaking, it's people don't understand in their head how to really take the leap, with the camera or the edit or something like this. So experience maybe even count a little bit, or, you know, knowledge before you actually go to that first production. But, you know, we look for, like, just a lot of different things. Like, there's nothing that really completes a film, you know, except from start to finish, where you feel like you've been part of that movie-making process.
Right.
So that to us is an important piece. Is like, can these films bring, you know, people into that process and make you feel like you were there.
Right. Okay.
So,
David? Also, a suspension of belief. You're starting to watch when the credits roll, if something really takes you, and that you're not thinking about issues or problems that you had, if you get sucked into the story and taken into the story, and they're showing, giving a new perspective. Like music, there's only so many chords and chord structures and progressions. What are you going to add that's new to it? You can cite different directors. You could digitally, like digital sampling. You could sample like Quentin Tarantino to sample different pieces of films and bring them together. But telling a story honestly in their perspective, because there's no really wrong or right way to do it.
Okay.
It's the energy that someone puts into it.
So how? So here's the. This is the thing I think that everyone wants to know. How do you select which films are being selected? Tell me that process. How many is how many is in the judging panel?
Yeah.
How long is the process? Even though I know the answer to some of these questions, but still
Okay.
share it to the audience.
Well, so maybe just a step back. This film festival started out of a group, the first digital film group in the city. It was called the Underground Film Forum, where we were this, sort of, nerdy group watching and making these digital films
Right.
and screening them. So that's why I mentioned we built the first HD screening room. Was there was no other place to watch these HD films that we're creating. So. It's a bit of a secret sauce, I have to say. And
Okay.
what we do is, the Underground Film Forum, hashtag UFF, is a global, group of people that, adds and subtracts a couple people each year, but essentially is about 20 people around the world that have taken upon themselves to watch films, essentially. So, and these are people that are alumni, people we've met around the road or
Right.
met at film festivals around the world, and just interested in the success of independent film. So, again, like the secret sauce on how we select them, I mentioned the 13%. I would say a couple things. One is to have a film that's, if it's not ready and you feel you need a little color or something, make sure there's notes in there saying that this is what's going on, and but you're giving us something that's not just essentially in a cutting room edit here. It's like
Right.
something we can actually watch. The other thing is, I think it's important is to follow up the film and really promote the festival. Ironically, so this isn't Cannes or South by Southwest, where they don't necessarily need the filmmaker. They're going to promote the filmmaker. Here is you want to promote the whole community. So a lot of times when people are out there, they're online or whatever it is, and they're promoting the film festival, it bubbles up and people notice it. That doesn't mean they're going to get in or reject it.
Right.
It just means they've been noticed, and that's kind of the key in this situation is to have your film rise up. How? I would say do anything you can to make that happen.
Right.
But from a technical standpoint, our film festival has always taken works in progress as part of the selection process.
Okay.
So
That's good
we
to
look
know.
to support alumni is a huge deal for us. Alumni submit for free throughout the life, so we have a lot of repeat customers here over the years, and and people that come through, and the filmmakers that really, the alumni that support us, really push out there the idea that we're willing to take chances and screen films.
Okay.
So it's not just your typical film. I don't know if that really means, I shouldn't say your typical film, but it's something that you're out there pushing the boundaries a little bit, and you're daring us almost.
Right,
to,
right.
Like the film. So, we want to see something that stands out. We want to see something. A lot of things don't happen in indie films. Effects and different things.
Yeah,
and
right.
There's budgets and money.
Budgets,
so it's
right?
like,
Yeah.
how can you create, like when people make science fiction films, how can you make it look like a science fiction film without just dumping it into some program or something to make it look like that? So we could tell when that happens.
Okay.
We could tell when people really took time, or they didn't spend all their money on one
Right,
shot, or
right.
something like this. So there's no technical space, and there's no sort of, mental space that says this is what's going to get you into this film festival. But I would submit early is a key thing. It's always good in any film festival to get your film in early. Last minute films work. I mean, we watch films up until the absolute, last possible minute, even over sometimes. So, I think there's sort of a wide variety of ideas that'll put a film into our film festival. But the biggest one probably is, you need to be willing to be taking chances in that film. So we're looking for people to essentially dare us to like it.
Also, technical consistency. It doesn't have to be like the groundbreaking score or the best sound, but something that has a coherent, so that once you're watching that film, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour, the technical side doesn't take you away from the story. It keeps you focused into it.
Right.
That level of polish, it doesn't mean like Hollywood polish.
But that could be a distraction when you're watching a film, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
People, for example.
Bad audio, something like that. Yeah.
A lot of people in the independent community make films on laptops and small screens, and when you put on a big screen, that one black frame or something, all of a sudden it's a pretty huge image on a 30-foot screen. So,
Right. Yeah. Right.
Dave's
intensified.
point is clear, and I have a tendency be a little bit more lenient with these types of things. But he's right, when an edit or a bad technical moment sort of takes you out of a mood that the director or whoever wants you to be in, then And clearly that's the type of thing you need to fix. I mean,
Right.
this isn't something that makes it a good film. You
Right.
don't want people kicked out of their feeling or the emotion, because of a bad edit,
Right.
for sure, or a bad choice, which is a whole different point of view.
So, David, I know y'all get a lot of submissions from around the world, basically, for the film festival. What does that feel like?
It feels cool.
It's cool, isn't it?
Well, it's one, not to be all like, Om Shanti about it, but it shows that it's one global community.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in a time now where, countries are really closing off their borders, the fact
Yes.
that art and this kind of work and having the technology so readily available for people to explore and experience, I think, is just a strength.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a positive something. It's positively moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I remember I got the opportunity to be in one of your First Friday events, and just seeing, we were watching a particular film, I think it was from India or something like that. Just to seeing how they do films and we do films in America. There's similarity to it, of course, right? But it's just amazing to be in that front of like, wow, like this is from over there, like,
Yeah.
and
Well, there's
it's
a
almost like a
technical-
family. It's almost something filmmakers is like one big family. Like we all got the
is.
same, So, but what was you about to say? If
Well, no, just like a Tower of Babel, where like everyone's speaking different actual languages, but
right.
they're all speaking the same.
same, that's what I meant. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you
So
very
I
much.
can
Yes.
understand, like,
Yes.
oh, look what they're doing here. It's
Right.
really like there's a collective unconscious where maybe one example of something that becomes mainstream, but there's like 1,000 other people that are doing something similar at the same time
Mm-hmm.
connected. So I think it just makes it it just brings people together in like the least.
I mean, even when you watch films that has closed caption at the bottom, like you still get it. You know, you got to read the bottom of the screen, but you get what's being said, what's trying to be done. You understand the process. So how do y'all support independent filmmakers beyond screening their films with y'all festival?
So that's a great question, and this to me has always been arguably what film festivals do the worst job at, is supporting the filmmaker
Right.
after the fact. So we have always maintained an open contact line. So for a long time, up until our 10th festival, we didn't have a red carpet. We just had a space where people came.
Right.
So the idea was to establish this sort of dialogue in a community. So one of the big things we did, because the festival started as a networking event, that was the concept. One of the concepts was to bring all these people together because we didn't think it was happening. So, we support people through, marketing efforts. If a filmmaker's interested in taking part with us, we'll help them market films going forward on a festival
That's
circuit
great.
or something on that level. Probably the biggest thing we do, though, there's two things. One of them is that the open line for filmmakers to connect with us. We've been doing Open Fridays for over a decade now. So as far as the film festival is concerned, so we have a place. We built 2 HD screening rooms at a great venue in Philadelphia called Serify, which has 2 HD screening rooms. There's a private lounge. It's where you were, and this is a unique, one-of-a-kind spot in the city of Philadelphia.
Right.
So it's surrounded. I mean, it's just a beautiful space. So we'll give people an open screening room to come in and essentially, have people in their business and their locale critique their film. The second thing we did was realize that every filmmaker called us up asking for money.
Right.
So it was like a big deal for us, was like money, and we would sometimes provide to Indiegogo campaigns or Patron or something on this level, or show up to events and pay the door fee
Right.
or something on this. But then we realized that that $20 or something wasn't the thing. And we're like, how can filmmakers create their own economy? So on the Algorand blockchain, we launched our own economy. Essentially, we launched our own storyteller Filmmakers Lounge Piffcoin, which is a storyteller's cryptocurrency that trades on the open market now. We went through a Dex crowdfunding campaign, so brought this coin to the table. And we were over at Bar Camp at Wharton, Temple University, speaking on the value of creating your own economy. So I don't want to say we're making people millionaires or something, which is definitely would be great, but we clearly have stepped out of the realm. We're the first film festival to launch our own cryptocurrency.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Congratulations
so
to
the
y'all.
idea is to have this sort of revolving moment where these coins actually invest in films. So, and then parts of that go back into it, so it's a circular process. So I think one of the biggest things we did was, kick the doors open and say, let's do our own economy. I mean, people aren't raising money. People
Right.
don't want to hand, $100,000 to a filmmaker, let's go and figure out how to do this ourselves. That's not just a crowdfunding type campaign. There's a reward process in a cryptocurrency. So that launch is called Filmmakers Lounge PIF Coins. So I would encourage everybody to go to that and check that out. I mean, it's a great opportunity for filmmakers.
Absolutely. Awesome. Appreciate it. So what advice, now we talked about the process, about judging things, but what advice would you give to filmmakers before submitting to your festival? What do they need to make sure is tip-top shape before submitting to y'all?
So filmmakers in general?
Yeah.
So, look, when you're handing in anything, whether it's a proposal or a grant or something you're doing, you want to put your best foot forward first.
Right.
So you don't want to come back and be like, oh yeah, I watched this and look, I got a new one with color correction. Like, you really want to be upfront as much as you can with what you have. So don't think you're going to put it past us with some awful audio mix or something like that. We'll see it.
It's okay to me, right? It's okay to me, right?
Okay, and you're watching it on this like small machine, like make sure you get it out
on the phone.
Or on your phone, which is a genre, right now, vertical filmmaking, and that's great because you're only going to watch it on the phone. But if you want to see a film on the big screen and you haven't played it on anything in your laptop, you have potential to have major problems. So I would definitely just watch your film, have people sit in the room that aren't necessarily your best friends, that are willing to say, this film stinks, or you should really think like this.
Be honest.
It's more about preparation, like anything as an entrepreneur, which filmmakers are to us, is like you really need to be prepared for whatever it is you're trying to do.
Okay.
So, up front, talking about things, working with people, having people view it, really thinking about this production becomes really helpful when you put it into a room of people who have no idea who you are or anything like that.
Now, David, are y'all seeing common mistakes like that, the one he just spoke of? Are y'all seeing common repeat offenders?
Somewhat, but it's also like learning how to take criticism well and being constructive about it. And being able to step away from the artwork and be objective about it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great.
And just step out there, because you never know until you know, and it's never. Give yourself the credit of things are never really truly going to be finished, and someone might be seeing it for the first time that don't know the history of it, where you could have done one thing different or another thing different. But just be really open about the process, because that really helps you as a creative artist in whatever field of art that you're working in. That just helps you grow and reach more people.
Okay. So how does partnership and sponsors play a role in keeping the festival alive?
Well, you mentioned two very distinct things. Philadelphia Independent Film Festival is a non-sponsored event. It's sponsored by the people that produce it and volunteers and goodwill in the community, which extends back to our MediaBureau.com days and writing, producing, directing shows, first shows on the internet. So really, we have an incredible amount of goodwill, in the film and production and music communities in Philly across all types of genres. So, that's crucial to us, essentially how this thing lifts and moves forward. I know we're not allowed to talk about sponsors and all this type of stuff, but we don't have paid sponsors. It's not something we ever put on the table. We have decided to actually move forward with that. So we don't have anybody in mind. So if you're watching, come on down.
It's truly independent.
It's a great space. Well, the irony is that by not having the sponsors enables us in the film selection process to be truly independent. Like we can really get to the point that 20 plus people are watching these films that have no bias in any way except for the film that's in front of them. So we've kind of kept that feel to sort of put it into the DNA of the independent piece of this fest. So that'll be important as we move forward with sponsors and partners like this that want to engage like this and sort of see some type of return for that type of engagement. That said, we have a lot of great partners, like people who are in the industry that really do great things. We work with a group in LA called Darkroom.film, Agora World, which is a virtual reality company based out of here. Like, we've worked with groups, like really great groups over the years. So, we would push people to Darkroom for distribution, for example, or local, like Breaking Glass local, and say, here's a number, call them. So, these aren't partners or sponsors or anything, but they're people that we collaborate with and, and collaborate with us. They'll send us film and give us good, in the cocktail, hour,
Right.
they're talking positive about the festival. So that 25 years of running Media Bureau and then 19 running this really has put us into the room a lot.
Okay.
So it's really given us the ability to just, people see that we have top-notch screening and we really work the technical side of this and really, drive at bringing some value to the filmmaker. So that becomes a big piece for us now as we go forward and we do actually look for sponsors.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So, question for both of y'all as we almost wrapping this show up. What has been your proudest moment as a film festival creator or event holder, however you want to put it? What has been your proudest moment? They back and forth with it.
Yeah, so, look,
You got this is the time to pull your own flowers out here. There, come on.
well, every year, first of all, putting off anybody. I don't care whether we compete with a festival or not. Anybody pulls off a film festival every year. It's a miracle.
Absolutely,
It really
yeah.
is.
I know
It's
it's a
an
lot
incredible
behind the
amount
scenes. Yeah.
of money on the table, renting venues, making sure that film runs and doesn't stop in the middle. It's nerve wracking. And you're screening, 100 films, or a couple hundred films even, you're realizing like, wow, like this is a collective community that made this happen. So I don't want it to make it sound so simple because there's a lot of success stories with the filmmakers, maybe for a different show. But in this case, it's really seeing this independent Philadelphia independent film community come together and believe in bringing independent voices out there. So, the bottom line is the films we screen aren't being screened in any other venue in the city. They're not being screened at the other film festivals. And so, we have a unique place and a responsibility. So seeing that happen year after year as a festival director and founder becomes just it's a tremendous, excitement. And, you really realize that people are really enjoying what they're doing and the filmmakers come
Job well
back.
done.
Yeah, so,
Job well done.
that to me, at least from the director's standpoint, is watching it go and the 5 days go by and no big hiccups and everybody's writing positive reviews, unless
That's
they're
a good
complaining about
feeling, right?
parking, Philly, let's work on the parking. But outside of that,
Yeah.
I think that's for me, that's the biggest thing.
David, real quick, what about you?
I was going to say, actually, the screening that we had at the Ethical Society last year, which was on a Saturday, and just the vibe and like the crowd spilling out into the Rittenhouse Square, and the fact that we're able to run the festival out of there next year, I think I'm really looking forward to, because there was a good sense of community, a sense of being culturally in a really significant place in the city, and just the vibe of that building itself. I think it's going to be a really great year next year.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And one more thing, if you don't mind, it's important to say that at the Ethical Society, working with Kimberly and Philip there, and there's a few other groups in the building that we're all working together, is that we're really building something there that doesn't exist in the city, and this has been consistent with the Philly Independent.
We need it.
world.
Thank you. Yeah.
We do, and it's centrally located like that, and gives people a little more flair, but really building out an incredible system there. So it's we're really excited for that. So I can't say that's one of the most exciting things that's going to happen.
Well, that's a great thing, though. That's a great thing.
We're working
Yeah.
on it. We're
That's and for us on the outside, it's like we got something to look forward to. We know that this festival is getting bigger and better. When I first started, for my first film that was in the A type of festival, it was set up almost like the Emmys award show night. They had all the categories on the screen and the names. That felt good as a filmmaker. So y'all are providing that. So hats off to y'all.
Thank you.
Y'all doing a great job.
Working hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for being here today. I hope I put some light on some of the questions out there that people don't know how this happens. Real quickly, as we close this show, how can people get in touch with y'all or submit their films to?
You can submit on filmfreeway.com, search Philadelphia Independent Film Festival. You can search on PIFF Films, PIFFfilms.tv. That's our website, and at PhilaIndie on Instagram and X.
All right. Well, thank y'all once again for being here. I am James Winborn. Thank y'all for watching the Industry Show. Until next time, I'll see you later. Thank you.